UFC 343005, February 26, 2021, Chapter 2, Distribution Pipeline Design, System Planning, System Layout, Gas Distribution Pipelines will be planned carefully with a due consideration, economic safety, uniformity of the pressure lines will all loop the well main area with into outlining areas whenever the practical, economic feasible to do so, but not always practicable to supply line and outline area that been back to the main system, but in such cases of the optional, objectionable effect of the dead ends often be with relief to some extent looping line around the area to serve then back into itself with one pipe location. Gas distribution pipe will never be installed under a building. They will not be laid in same trench with the other utilities preclude with the possibility of leaking gas from allowing collecting other conduit creating an explosion hazard. For the same reason, gas lines will be above the utilities room with a cross of the practical underground gas pipelines must be installed with a minimum clearance from the underground structure specified with the 192 through 325. Gas pipelines will not be laid under the paved street with the other locations subject to the heavy traffic when impractically avoidable. Whenever necessary to locate with the gas line in such location, lines will protect with the corners with the IAW Title 49 CFR 192. Sufficient clearance must be maintained between plastic mains and streams, hot water power lines, other sources of the heat with a void temperature set for the rated temperature and the pressure combination of the pipe. Location classification Title 49 CFR 192 192.5 classify the location gas pipeline based for the proximity occupied building frequently occupied outdoor location classification range from class 1 to class 4 signify the level of risk of the consequence of the human life of the event of the piping line failure, population density increase over the location class number, they increase the location classification even to define several regulated requirements for a given pipe segment. Design record or DOR, any of the project that modifies a segment of the gas distribution pipeline on the DOD installation must obtain existing location classification verify with the class meet 192F, identify proper location class of the pipeline segment is modified with connected into the project. Design drawings must indicate location classification each pipe segment with a distribution line for the project for the DOD installation. All new modified distribution pipelines must be in location class 3 to minimize the impact of the future building contract projects may have with the existing pipelines where connection is made to the pipeline segment of design location class 7 and class 3. The drawings must identify location with chains and class. The pipeline operator reasonable to maintain the proper location for the segment. Each segment is additional buildings constructed with the Department of Defense installation. Therefore, the document of record must coordinate with the intent of the location classification appropriate with the DoD installation and personnel. 2.2 Engineering analysis plans and specification of the document of the records must provide with the engineering analysis plan and specification to define the work to perform. All information installing contractor required to provide the government for a complete functional installation that meets the regulatory requirement of Title 49 CFR 190 to provide with the government operator with all information needed to proper reporting regulatory agency. Example of PHMA state agency. Engineering analysis. Engineering analysis will be presented in a diagram showing all of the connected load, the design flow rate, location of valve pressure regulators, all of the pipeline devices, actual operating pressure before and after each regulator, any other appurtenances required to control downstream pressure, relieve downstream pressure, and prevent excessive flow. A complete set of supporting calculations will be prepared. 2.2 plans. Plans will include layout drawings showing the entire distribution system. Detailed clearing drawings clearly show the pipe size, location, gas mains, service connections, details abandoning gas pipeline, mechanical couplings, valves, service taps, regulators, and other appurtenances. ASME through B31.8 require that the abandoned gas lines be physically disconnected from the gas source. Should all of the valves not acceptable, the means of the disconnect. 2.2.3 specification. 2.2.3.1 required specification of the document of records may use the AUFGS Unified Facility Guideline Specs 33-51-15 natural gas, liquid petroleum gas distribution pipeline specify the gas distribution pipeline work over the gas or over the gas purveyor's meter and regulator, and liquid petroleum gas storage tank where applicable to the point of the connection bill of the fuel gas pipe to be aware of the Unified Facility Guideline Spec 23-11-25 facility gas piping specify the requirements for point of connection to the distribution system and appliance. 2.2.3.2 submittal description SD11 closeout submittal requirements closeout with the submitted description 11 typically include items as well as a built set of drawings and specification test result project appearing with the documents closeout submittal construction distribution pipelines are required to include complete display of all information pertaining during the construction process in order to support ongoing effort of the Department of Defense installation complying with the documentation reporting tasks required by the Title 49 192. Following list of information must be submitted to the project closeout in order to support the Department of Defense installation obtained with the pertaining information pertaining to the construction and distribution pipelines for which the DoD Installation is the operator. As-built layout drawings, submittal drawings show the geographical information, location, and each of the newly installed pipeline segment, each connection, existing pipe, each abandoning pipe segment. The drawing must include the pipe side with the material type, design, flow, capacity, maximum allowable operating pressure defined, and operator specified with a document over the records, pipe material, permit each of the pipe segment, the pipe material specification number, ASTM D2513, for example, the name of manufacturer's item, and part number, the length of the segment, purchase lot number, date of the manufacturer, date installed with the material submittal must be keyed out and laid out drawing. Mechanical couplings, such of the mechanical, each of the mechanical couplings installed with the name of the manufacturer's part, serial with the number, the date with the manufacturer's date installed. Each mechanical coupling must be keyed with the layout drawing with identified exact location of particular serial with the number installed. Piping joints, layout joints of the may be installed with a geographical information system location. Each of the joint made with every segment with a distribution pipeline. Pipe joint used here is defined as any connection made to a joining pipe to another point with a pipe fitting a piece of equipment and any other appurtenancies. The following information regarding each pipe joint must be correlated with the pipe joint shown in the layout drawing. Manufacturer written procedure making identified connection, name and identification mark over the person making the connection, qualification certificate over the person who made the connection, leakage strength of the test result of the geographical information system coordinates must be submitted for the pipeline, including all joints of the pipeline, all taps, tees, and mechanical fittings. 2-3 distribution pipeline design. The design of any of the new modified gas pipelines must comply with Title 49 CFR 192 subpart C, liquid petroleum gas pipelines. Title 49 CFR 192, 192, 11 states of the requirement as National Fire Protection Association. 58 prevail in the case conflict. Subpart C with the pipe design. Prescribe the minimum requirement of the pipe design. Pipe must be the design sufficient wall thickness with the internal pressure of the gas without failure. With the wall thickness must be increased. The pipe must be installed with adequate protection with the anticipated external force of load without failure. 2-3-1 load diversity. The design gas distribution pipeline installed with the Department of Defense will be based on the sum of the rated gas load with the connected appliance of the distribution pipeline. Following proceed with the natural gas. More than 15 buildings, more than 80% of the connected appliance load. Natural gas, 15 buildings fewer with a 100% fully connected appliance load. Liquid petroleum gas vapor phase, 100% fully connected appliance load with regard to system size. 2-3-2 design pressure seals type pipe. 2-3-2-1 design pressure of the Department of document over the records must determine the design pressure each pipe segment in accordance with the Title 49 192 subpart C. Steel design pressure with the calculated U of the equation present with the 192-105 of the equation U of the basic hoop stress equation reduction factors and curve the temperature of type longitudinal joint location classification each of the variables U of the equation with the defined 192-107 through 115. 2-3-2-2 yield strength. The yield strength of the pipe, the defined the pipe specification length in the Title 49 CFR 192 Appendix B specified the minimum yield strength shape in Appendix B specification length of the pipe material U with the because of the pipe specification not listed in Appendix B are not allowed on government DoD installation. Alternative means for the determining yield strength is not allowed with the new construction of these alternative means. However, the required evaluating design pressure existing pipe class 3 location minimum class allowed with the distribution pipeline Department of Defense installation. 2-3-3 the design pressure of the plastic pipe with the document with the record must design with the pressure each pipe segment in accordance with the Title 49 CFR 192 subpart C. Plastic pipe design is calculated U with the equation of the 192-121 equation with the modified version of the basic hoop with the traffic equation U with the term of the common in the plastic piping. The inch of the yield strength with a hydrostatic design basis or at or above the operating temperature of the pipe with a hydro design basis is typically found in the pipe section specified with a particular type of plastic pipe. 2-3-3-1 standard dimension ratio of the maximum allowed standard dimension ratio of plastic pipe is installed on the DoD installation. SDR standard dimension ratio of 11. Standard dimension ratio of the diameter of the pipe divided by the wall thickness. Standard dimension ratio 11 representative of the minimum wall thickness allowed by the Department of Defense installation. The design factor is 0.32 for the reduces for the design pressure polyethanol thermoplastic for the reinforced epoxy resin thermosetting pipe. Design factor is 0.40 reduces the design pressure polyamide 11 pipe. 2-3-2 maximum design pressure for the plastic pipe limited to 192-121 Title 49 CFR 192 limits for the design pressure plastic exposed pipe to 100 pounds per square inch gauge. With this exemption specified with the gasket material with allow how pressure the exemption must thoroughly investigate investigated document prior to providing plastic pipe with a system with a greater than 100 psi gauge. Notice for the ASTM and the F2945 and the PA11 that was stated of heat fusion adjoining the PA11 pipe fittings is not allowed with a pipe and fitting for the made from either thermoplastic material, therefore it should be taken as specifying a different type of the plastic that has been previously installed because of the complexity connecting different plastic materials. 234 Maximal allowable operating pressure. Maximal allowable operating pressure of distribution line. Pipeline is controlled with a reasonable operator of the distribution line according to the Title 49-192. Document of the records must obtain the maximal allowable operating pressure of the existing distribution system reasonable operator prior to designing work with the distribution pipeline. Maximal allowable operating pressure include with the design calculation of the design drawing with each pipe segment connected or installed within the project. Maximal allowable operating pressure for the steel and plastic pipe is determined from the requirement stated in 192.619 through 623 with the prescribed of the maximal allowable operating pressure for the distribution main service lines. Maximal allowable operating pressure determined in 192.619 through 623 is generally associated with the lowest design pressure refraction test pressure for the pipe segment initially intended after the installation test pressure for the class 3 locations as 1.5 times the maximal allowable operating pressure of every pipe of the segment that must be tested. The IAW Title 49-192 subpart J or substantiate the maximal allowable operating pressure determined in 192.619 recommend the new pipe be tested for the highest pressure for the safety practical instead of the maximal allowable operating pressure pipe segment if it is high of safety possible to prevent having uprate in the future. Maximal operating distribution mains is listed within 60 psi gauge unless every service line connected with it to the distribution main contains a device installed with the purpose of protection against overpressurization. IAW 992-197 C with the device must limit the inlet pressure due with a strip of the regulator and pressure regulation, flow relief, or isolation. The American Sign Mechanical Engineers B31-8, paragraph 845 may be viewed with the reference provide additional information on these overpressure devices. All the devices listed included Title 49 CFR 192. 235 increasing the maximal allowable operating pressure by operating pipelines have the pressure increased and previously determined maximal allowable pressure by following the requirement of Title 49 CFR 192 subpart K logically determined by the new maximal allowable operating IAW 192.619 pipe segment is updated that must be tested the located requirement of new pipe in the same material installed in the same location. Process requiring Title 49 CFR 192 subpart K with quite detailed requiring so much of the research field work before pipeline pressure of the increase allowed. Therefore, it is recommended initial test all the pipeline's highest test pressure for the safety practical in order to prevent the need for operating in the future. 236 alternative maximal allowable operating pressure. Title 49 CFR 192.619 allow for determining maximal allowable pressure for the method with the difficulty implemented in the vast amount of the information necessary to apply with the method acceptable. Alternatively, utilize 192.620 with the provide the requirement of determining utilizing alternative maximal allowable operating pressure 192.620B2 required for the pipeline segment of the alternative with maximal allowable pressure be constructed to meet with the additional design requirements of 192.112 of the section stipulated for the only pipe of the manufacturer AIP Spec 5 AISP Spec 5L may be used as alternative maximal allowable operating pressure requirements. Fundamental mandate several document and quality control manufacturing processes which are typically not available with existing systems, not effective with new systems. 237 testing requirements. Every pipe segment must be tested for the IAW Title 49-192 with Part J within order to substantiate maximum allowable operating pressure determined in 192.619. Test required to prove that the pipeline does not leak with the specified with the cave must be strengthened and tested with the specific duration for the season. Safety reason hydrostatic testing is preferred. However, the Title 49-192 allows air with the inlet air with even the natural gas source to be used under the specific constraints. Title 49 CFR 192 does not allow for the use of the liquid petroleum gas in the vapor phase, aka petroleum gas, to be used in the test media. Liquid petroleum gas pipelines operating in the under Title 49 CFR 192 must comply with the testing requirement of Title 49 CFR 192, written in testing described in the National Fire Protection Association 58. 237-1 test pressure of the steel pipeline. Test pressure applied with the most distribution pipelines installed with the Department of Defense. Installation defined in 2008 revision Title 49 CFR 192 as follows. 192,507 steel pipes operating at 100 psi higher or less than 30 system mechanical yield strength, leaking with a strength with 100 psi gauge pressure for the created for the stress of 20, stress measured yield strength, stress testing, and look at the pressure for the duration 1 hour. 192,509 steel distribution remain operating 100 psi below 100 psi minimum leak test pressure of the 90 psi gauge operating of 1 psi gauge or greater, minimum leak test pressure of the 10 psi gauge operating pressure less than 1 psi gauge. 192,511 steel surface line with the operating stress level of 20% of the SMYS, minimum leak test with a 50 psi gauge operating pressure of 1 to 40 psi gauge. Minimum leak test rate with a 90 psi gauge operating pressure greater than 40 psi gauge. 192,513 plastic distribution main line surface line with leak test pressure with a 150% maximal operating pressure not less than 50 psi gauge. Refer to 192,513. Further restriction during test. Pneumatic leaking test must be performed IAWA STM F2786. Hydrostatic testing must perform IAWA STM 52164. For steel pipelines operated at or above the 100 psi gauge hoop strength of the 30% of the SMYS rules of the 192.507 must be above the appropriate test pressure for the inspection to discover all leak segments being tested. In the rare of the case, the steel distribution pipeline operates at hoop stress above 30% of the SYMS. Readers shall allow with the 192.505 with hydrostatic strength testing, leaking testing requirements. Please refer to Title 49 CFR 192 section updates required to test pressure for the more detailed required testing. 232.702 with the test pressure for the polyethanol pipelines. 23721 leak testing. Title 49 CFR 192.513 required for the leak test of plastic different distribution main surface lines performed at a pressure of at least 150 times the maximal percent of the maximal operating percent, but not less than 50 psi. Refer to 192.513 for the restriction during testing. Leaking test polyethanol other plastic pipelines must be suspect of the performance and effect of the pressure of the on the plastic material. Pneumatic leaking test of the polyethanol pipelines must be performed by IAWA STM F2786. Hydrostatic polyethanol pipelines must be performed in IAWA STM F2164. Both documents prescribe the procedure of the maximal test pressure for 1.5 times the design pressure of the weakest component of the limitation contrast to Title 49 CFR 192.513 state the maximum testing pressure must not exceed 3 times the design pressure calculated in 192.121. This is because the two documents are to define the design pressure differently. 23702 hydrostatic design. Title 49 CFR 192.121 hydrostatic design base of the particular material of the testing quantity design factor 0.3 of the required reduced pipeline design pressure. ASTM F2786 hydrostatic design stress of the particular material of the calculated pressure rating of the pipeline temperature reduction factor for the reduce of the pipeline maximum test pressure. ASTM F2164 uses the term design pressure and pressure rating synonymously. 23723 with the pressure testing recommended with the maximum testing pressure for determining the U of the method presented with the ASTM F2786 with pneumatic testing. ASTM F2164 hydrostatic testing. Although ASTM CFR methods produce the same maximum test pressure for the pipe per temperature at 73 degrees Fahrenheit pipe temperature increase with 3 times the design pressure specified in Title 49 CFR 192.513 sees maximum test pressure calculated the ASTM methods both because pipe strength with the reduces increase with the pipe temperature with increase with the diameter of the pipe temperature with the during testing pipe temperature increase with the during with the pneumatic testing due to the heat compression in the compressible tested media sunlight exposure and ambient temperature contact with the manufacturer pipe fighting of the component with the guidelines during the pneumatic testing and the cooler temperature higher heating capacity hydrostatic testing media help with the reduce to the temperature of the heat test section in both pneumatic testing per ASTM F2786 hydrostatic per ASTM F2164 length of the time pipeline measured pressurized above the maximal operating pressure limited to 8 hours therefore starting pressure of the pipeline through the test favor the ending on the depressurization of pipeline. Total time duration may not exceed 8 hours. If the reset testing of the necessary of the pipeline must be allowed to relax pressure less than the operating pressure during the 8 hours before restarting the test. Chapter 3 Materials and Components Liquid Petroleum Gas Storage Containers.